Welcome to the HEARTS Entwined podcast. In this podcast, we'll be having discussions around the secrets which attract lasting, healthy, fulfilling relationships, creating a healthy mindset, and what women should know and understand about men. Introducing your host, Lyn Smith, the Queen of Hearts, relationship expert, trainer, speaker, and best-selling author of the Cupid's Bow technique. Lyn's mission is to have a positive impact in reducing divorce, domestic violence, and suicide.
Welcome to the HEARTS Entwined podcast. This is your host, Lyn Smith, the Queen of Hearts. And today I thought it would be a good idea to talk about polarity, because a lot of women who I meet and talk to don't understand how powerful creating polarity is in our relationships. And what I mean within that is creating healthy polarity, because there are unhealthy feminine traits, unhealthy masculine traits, as well as healthy feminine traits and unhealthy feminine traits that we can exude, which will then attract who we attract. And one of the things that I get asked a lot is how can I be more feminine? What is it to be a healthy feminine in my relationship? And, that's a good question, because we don't get taught this stuff, do we? We certainly don't get quite often it modelled for us from our parents. So the healthy feminine is about literally understanding yourself, and first and foremost, spending time with yourself to heal any past traumas or childhood wounds that may have currently affected your relationships. If you're always attracting either unhealthy relationships, toxic relationships, or just unfulfilling relationships, then that shows us something that needs healing within self. So I always start by saying, work on self and understand yourself, and also learn to love yourself, because quite often we're our worst, biggest critics, aren't we? And deep down, we actually don't look at ourselves in the mirror and actually appreciate and love who we are. And if we can't, first of all, start with that, then really, what do you expect from others? If you can't love and appreciate yourself, you're going to be exuding that sort of energy, and you're probably going to be attracting people that reinforce, whatever those negatives are that you dislike about yourself. So that's the first thing. The next thing is to think about healthy feminine traits and energy is about exuding nurturing. It's about exuding softness, calmness. It's about exuding what it is that makes you feel feminine, and that's different for all of us. So for some women it might be to wear makeup and high heels and jewelry and a certain style of dress. For other women it might just be that you feel you're most feminine without makeup, without jewelry. For me, I don't wear makeup. I haven't worn makeup in decades. So for me, being feminine isn't about wearing makeup. For me, I like to put a flower in my hair quite regularly. Especially if I'm going out anywhere special, that makes me feel feminine. And also, I quite like floaty, gypsy style clothes. That's what makes me feel feminine. I don't wear high heels. So, because basically I find it difficult to walk in high heel shoes. But I do wear sort of wedge type shoes that give me a bit of height sometimes if I want to add a bit of height. And, shoes that I feel more comfortable and stable in to actually walk in my natural feminine way. Also, for some women, obviously, they like to wear pretty underwear. That makes them feel feminine. Some women like to wear perfumes. I do choose to wear perfume. and I have my own special fragrances which I particularly like. So for me, it's more about, as I say, looking natural but smelling good and feeling good within myself, that makes me exude my own sort of femininity. And why should that be important? Well, it's important because if you feel good within yourself and you are wanting to attract a healthy masculine man, but you've previously attracted either unhealthy masculine men or you're just unfulfilled within a relationship, it usually means that quite often we're either in our masculine energy because we've been in past traumas that have wanted to make us protect ourselves, so we come across as quite controlling in our relationships. And that's understandable. If you've been hurt in the past, especially if it's been at the hands of men, then it's quite common for women to default into masculine energy, and that usually manifests itself in being quite controlling within our relationships. The other thing is that if we are exuding masculine energy, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's about context. When is it appropriate to use masculine energy? It's appropriate when we're in a threatening situation. That's when it's appropriate. It's appropriate when we're in sporting environments, because to be competitive we need to tap into our masculine energy. And it's also sometimes appropriate in our workplace, if we need to deliver something with quite an assertive authority and confidence. But we can also do that within our feminine energy. We can deliver something just as powerful if we learn to actually tap in more to our feminine energy. And what most women don't realise is that by tapping in and learning more about how to be more feminine, we are then going to attract healthy masculine males, because quite often, if we're not attracting the type of men that we want, if we seem to be attracting weak men, it's often because we're stepping into the masculine role too often. And for weaker men that haven't got a strong sense of self, they will step more into their feminine energy, which in turn isn't attractive to us. And on the other side of the coin, there is, if you're in an unhealthy feminine energy, then, and what I mean by that, if you're being needy, desperate, chasing them all the time, being available to them all the time, being anxious and worried about the relationship, that is unhealthy feminine energy. And that is then also going to attract an unhealthy masculine man who's going to either take advantage of that or is not really going to be attracted to that energy for very long in the relationship. So there's lots of information there, and so I'm not going to go into anything more in too much detail because I've got loads of previous episodes relating to this topic. So if you are interested in masculine and feminine energy and how it works in the dynamic of relationships, then do look at my previous episodes. But also, I'd like to leave you with the thought that we also need to focus on what energy are we in most of the time when we're in our relationships. What place are we coming from? Are we coming from a place of fear, lack, worry, or doubt? Or are we coming from a place of love, abundance, faith, and trust? Because those two different places will attract a very different type of relationship. And quite often we don't even analyse what we're actually bringing to the table ourselves and why we are also responsible for the relationships that we're attracting and are probably currently in if they're not fulfilling or healthy. So I'll just leave you with that thought, and also to say, as always, that true love starts with opening our hearts. And until next time, goodbye for now.
Thanks for listening to the HEARTS Entwined podcast. You can follow Lyn via the Facebook group to Hearts Entwined, or search Lyn Smith, inspirational speaker at LinkedIn, or email lyn@hearts-entwined.com. That's lyn@hearts-entwined.com. Remember, true love starts with opening our hearts.
This episode was brought to you by Disruptive Media, helping bold entrepreneurs stand out through podcasting, video, and social content. Visit disruptivemedia.co.uk to learn more.